Good morning, everyone. Thank you for coming. I'm Damian Lake, consultant from East Grinstead in West Sussex. Just going to talk a little bit about my experience with Zepto capsulotomy. A quick overview. In a time long ago, we didn't do capsular access at all until Gimbel and Neuhan developed this in 1991, using continuous curvilinear capsular access to create a stronger access through which we can do our cataract surgery. And then the sort of gold standard in doing capsular access since then, in my opinion, has been the Zeiss cross-action, the cross-action forceps, which are very controlled. Recently, there's been the femtosecond laser. What I would say about the femtosecond laser is it doesn't give the same sort of strength of capsular access as a forcep or even a needle capsular access does. So if you look at the scanning electron microscopy from forceps created capsular access, you get a nice smooth edge which is strong and continuous all the way around and consistent. If you have the same with a femtosecond laser, then you tend to get a very ragged edge with where the delivery of the laser is, spots outside that, and testing has shown that in the lab that they're approximately equal in strength, but of note, if you look at the big studies, there seems to be an increase in anterior capsular tears clinically in femtosecond laser cataract surgery. So with that in mind, what are your alternatives on the market at the moment? Well, recently now there is the Zepto console. It's much smaller than a femtosecond laser. Obviously a femtosecond laser, you need a room, you need the air conditioning, you need the temperature control. If any of those are not working, then your femtosecond laser is not going to work and you can't deliver the planned surgery to your patient. With the Zepto console, it doesn't require that. All it requires is power to plug into the wall, which is simple. If you've got a universal power supply, then you can be assured that you can complete your surgery. Oh, there we go. There's the handpiece. So this is a disposable handpiece, so you pay per surgery. This is the business end. This is the handpiece for you to hold, and then the distal end connects into the unit which your assistant plugs in. This retracts. This button here is the only bit that you need to move. It retracts the nickel titanium alloy and then pushes it forward when you want to open up the circle to apply it to the anterior capsule. This is the underside of the suction cup in magnification. So what you can see here is with the blue button pushed forward, this pushes these two gold levers forward, which then open up this nitinol, the nickel titanium alloy circle. This is the silicone suction cup, which applies onto the anterior capsule. And the suction, this is the opening here through which suction happens. So it attaches to the anterior capsule and creates a link between capsule and the silicone. This is I think 5.2 to 5.5 millimeters in diameter, so you get a consistent capsular access opening each surgery. It will create the opening 360 degrees. There are no tags and tears like you get with femtosecond laser. What you're left with is a circle of anterior capsule on the underside of the suction cup, which you can then see physically. So this is how it works. This is the anterior capsule. This is the iris here and here. You go in through your normal wound. So my surgery is a 2.2 and it easily fits through that, and we'll just show that in a second. This is the suction cup. So it's applied like a bathroom plunger on the front of the anterior capsule. And then the nitinol, the charge goes through the nitinol, creates plasma bubbles, which create a cut in the anterior capsule, and you get as opposed to capsular access or tearing the rhexis, you get almost like a coagulation of the proteins on the edge of the capsular access, which causes the anterior capsule on the edge to curl up anteriorly, so you get a very strong rhexis edge as opposed to femtosecond laser or a manual capsular access. Oh, wrong one. So this is how it cleaves the anterior capsule. Is it strong? Is what we want to know. So you'll have seen many studies in the in the journals on capsulorhexis strength with femtosecond laser, which is alleged to be as strong as with a manual capsulorhexis. But I'll just show you this video of a German surgeon testing his capsulorhexis strength after having had the Zepto done, and I would ask you to think whether you would do this on either a manual capsulorhexis or one in which it had been performed with a femtosecond laser. Pretty strong, I would say. I don't think anyone would do that on their rhexis otherwise. So nice and circular, a constant opening of 5.2 millimeters in breadth. This was testing the strength in the lab with this instrument is calibrated to pull the rhexis in a transverse fashion to test the strength of the capsulorhexis. If you do that formally, you can see that the strength of the Zepto rhexis is up to 4 times the strength of a manual capsulorhexis and a femtosecond capsulorhexis, which we see here. So this is the manual capsulorhexis, and this one is the Zepto. So in each case, much stronger than a manual capsulorhexis and much stronger than a femtosecond laser capsulorhexis. If you look at the edge profile, this is on an OCT. So you can see that this is the lens, this is the anterior capsule just here, this is the iris edge here. Now the red circles are demonstrating this effect that I mentioned before. When the Zepto attaches to the anterior capsule, when the pulse goes around the nitinol ring and you get the cleavage of the anterior capsule, you get coagulation of that proteins in the capsule, and then the distal capsule then curls slightly forward, which gives it an extra strength that you don't get with manual and with femtosecond laser. And can I convince you that in both cases, that capsule, you can see it curling forwards. So is it safe? There is not a temperature rise in the anterior chamber of any significance, so it's safe from that point of view. It's been shown not to affect the endothelium. Endothelial cell counts are equal in both cases. On the studies with the Apple Miyake eyes that we showed earlier, negligible strain on the zonules as you're performing this, and the edge strength is superior to both manual and to femtosecond laser. So, clinical experience. So I've done a few eyes with this instrument now, and I hope my video is going to play. This is my first one. We're using our backup microscope at the time, and the recording fails at the end, but we get most of what we need to do. So this is showing the Zepto handpiece. We retract it back so that it becomes more longitudinal. I'm a bit reticent because it's my first case, but I managed to get it through the 2.2 wound. Goes in relatively easily. Then you place it. What I would do now is I would center it on the Purkinje images, but at the time I was, and you can see these bubbles going, which means it's attaching to the anterior capsule. Did you see that pulse there? I've slowed that down so you can see the pulse going through the nitinol. It doesn't normally appear like that. And then you can see a very nice round edge to the capsule. As I said, I've done it a little bit off center there. I would have done it on the Purkinje images now, but at that point I was just glad to do it, really. This second case is quite interesting. It shows one of the problems you can get if you're not being careful. So what you need to do is you need to get make sure the silicone cup is underneath the iris. So you can use it in small pupils. You do that by putting the viscoelastic under the iris to lift it up and then putting it underneath the iris. But I wasn't paying attention here, and I think some of it gets sucked in. See, the iris gets sucked in a little bit here. And I've applied the vacuum, so it's sucking it in, and then my microscope failed.
Just at the right time.
Real life surgery.
Real life surgery. But basically what happens, you'll have to accept my explanation, is that I recognise that you just turn off the vacuum, put the viscoelastic in, recenter the thing, and it's all fine. So it's controllable because it's under direct vision. So that's the handpiece, easy to use. After about your first 10, it's very comfortable in the hand and you get used to the movements and the entry and the exit. But it's not a big learning curve, it's pretty simple. So the arguments for femto are that it's useful for juniors to learn, instead of having to use a manual capsulorhexis. But I would say that this is easier than that, because having done femto, you've got to learn how to dock, you've got to then have somebody plan on the OCT, and then do the treatment. With this, they're using something that they've already used to, which is the microscope and their hand-eye coordination. Above and beyond that, it's pretty simple to do. And there's no interruption of workflow. You know, it's simple. It doesn't require big kit. It doesn't require atmospheric changes. It can all be done at your cataract station. You don't need to go over to the femto and then bring them over to the operating table, so it's much easier. It's fast. It doesn't take very long at all. So does it add to the workflow? No. You know, I would say that once you get slick, it's the same, if not a bit quicker than just doing your manual capsulorhexis. So it's not adding any time to the whole procedure. And you get the ideal size each time. You can use it on small pupils, you can use it on dense cataracts, you can use it on weaker zonules, you can use it where there are corneal opacities, which I've done, because you've got confidence that it's happening underneath. You know, you can get it on the visual axis, as I showed in the videos. Once you get more confident with it, you can get the center of the circle on your Purkinje images, and you get a nice centration to the opening each time. It's got their primary posterior capsulotomy. I'm not sure that I would do that, but I think under development, yeah. So in summary, I would say it's simple to use, repeatable and safe, and I think it's got good potential for use above and beyond both manual capsulorhexis and femtosecond laser.